Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show, where we help you make the wisest and most profitable decisions. My name is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky. I'm the CEO of Disaster Avoidance Experts, the future of work consultancy that sponsors the Wise Decision Maker Show. And today I'm meeting with Leslie. Leslie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yes, well, thank you for having me here today. I work for TEKsystems, and TEKsystems is a global provider of business and technology solutions. We accelerate business transformation for our customers, which includes 80% of the Fortune 500. And we help customers maximize their technology return on investments, drive business performance, and evaluate customer experiences. I've had the pleasure of working at Tech for 12 years and have been within the learning and development space for over 20 years, not to date myself. My start in this industry came from my love for technology and my passion for helping people. I've held a variety of roles throughout my career, from project management to client engagement to operations and leadership roles, but always working with projects and teams that are building innovative approaches to learning and development, and ultimately setting our leaders, employees, and customers up for long-term success.
Excellent. Now, you're thinking about learning and development in the context of remote work and hybrid work and in-office work. Can you tell me about the difference in the way that learning happens in remote contexts versus in-office contexts?
Yeah, I think the most important step to ensuring the learning experience is engaging, regardless of their work location or their learning modality being used, is to create learning programs that are efficient and personalized to the learner, and that take into account the needs of the individual, the context of their learning needs, the organizational goals. If I look in a post-COVID era, work era that we're in, employees have different situations and different work environments, and thus really require unique learning experiences. And that makes technology so important to provide flexibility in how and when they access the training, their ability to adapt to their needs, their preferences, and their goals. And it's really exciting, especially as we start utilizing virtual and immersive learning environments so that they can learn by doing. We can use cloud and AI and extended realities, such as like artificial reality or mixed reality or even virtual reality, to recreate those realistic situations that provide people a safe place to practice. We use these technologies to enhance how we connect with them and how we collaborate and engage, and provide that amazing avenue to simulate and explore as we work to kind of all thrive in this distributed world. When I look utilizing technologies like these, it increases that engagement and accessibility. It allows all employees, not just those in the office, to access the necessary tools to become more productive, creating more value for the entire organization. And with that, quality data is essential to help make informed decisions that influence and make people better at their jobs. As artificial intelligence and machine learning continue to evolve, we can use these tools to further individualize that learning and provide real-time feedback and generate personalized learning content based on the employee's needs and their goals. And the technology can help us develop insights and results and feedback loops where learning and development can really meet business and technology functions to provide that workforce skills mapping across their teams. And that really kind of having that insight for a company into what skills they need today, what will they need in the future, combined with that data, really can highlight where to target those upskilling and reskilling programs that learning and development is producing. And many companies may not be able to train employees and implement some of these advanced technologies on their own. And working with a learning partner can really help ensure all these different tactics result in a positive ROI for them.
Okay, so that's certainly, I can see the value of technology, and that It's not a differentiator between people who are working remotely and who are working in the office. So I've helped 25 companies by now transition to figuring out their future work plans, and 23 of them chose a hybrid modality, 2 of them chose remote first modality. And the hybrid modality, a important driver of that was learning. They felt that it was important to be in the office for employees to learn. So from your words, maybe they're making a mistake. Maybe it's not so important for employees to be in the office to learn if they are deploying technology effectively. What's your perspective on that?
Yeah, so kind of what are those challenges in that kind of hybrid or in-person learning environments?
What things might be missing for remote workers that my clients are trying to gain by bringing employees to the office? Or maybe, like I said, maybe they're making a mistake. Maybe they should not be. Maybe learning should not be a driver of bringing employees to the office, and you can have all the learning there. There's no particular benefit to being in the office for learning if you're using technology correctly. So what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, I look at it and I think employees, they need to feel confident that their organization is invested in their future. And, this has benefits of improving retention and productivity. So I would look at, fostering that positive learning environment where growth opportunities are available and accessible is really the essential piece there for employee engagement for any program, hybrid, virtual, in person, that an organization is rolling out. And I think there's challenges there. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I thought that you were finished speaking. Please go ahead, Leslie.
Yeah, I think there's challenges there. Some challenges for hybrid learning is that it creates a gap between remote and in-person learners, as they may have different levels of interaction. Remote learners can feel really isolated and less motivated. We've all struggled with overcoming, video conferencing fatigue, while in person, they may become overwhelmed and distracted as well. So, I look, and by using technology, you can really measure that level of engagement within a learning experience, and then make the, real-time targeted changes to improve the engagement, regardless of what that learning modality is or how they're accessing it, to improve that effectiveness for that learning experience.
Okay. Now, one of the concerns my clients have is not learning the technical content. Technical content, they're less worried about, and they think, well, that's something that I can get my remote team members to take classes, to do various modules. But learning how the organization functions, learning who the people are, learning the unwritten rules of the game, which they get through mentoring, through on-the-job training, through quick ability to answer questions, which are things that are quite a bit harder to capture through technology. And that's one reason why they want their team members to come to the office to get that mentoring and on-the-job training. What's your perspective on the less technical, but more human and more cultural aspects of learning for junior staff in particular?
Yeah, I mean, I think it all is open lines of communication and gauging their feedback and creating that culture of kind of continuous learning, regardless of the subject matter. And, in a remote environment, building that connection with others does become more challenging. It is easier in live to get them together, physically, and have those side conversations, but it's not impossible in a remote environment. I think you just need to, really leverage the technology to, how can you create that connection that leads to better mentoring, that leads to better coaching, and that relationship is really key to that.
Yeah, that's what I've really found, that it's for the clients of mine that chose a remote first modality, it takes more time and effort, but they're able to do it just as well eventually. So for clients that choose a hybrid modality, what I advise them to do is have the first few, if we're establishing a mentoring relationship, to have the first few mentoring meetings in person. So you have that trust, because you build up that trust more quickly when you're meeting in an in-person setting, and you can have all the nonverbal cues, all the emotions that you can convey, all the casual chatting. because it's really difficult for a mentee to reveal vulnerabilities. And that's really what the relationship, it's key for the relationship with the mentor, for the mentee to be able to reveal their vulnerabilities. And so it's definitely doable when you're working remotely, but it takes more meetings and it takes more interactivity for that to happen. I'm curious about your experience with the specific mentoring dynamics and how those might differ between in-person versus remote.
Yeah, I think with in person, obviously, some of that connection just naturally comes passing in the hallway, the water cooler. And so I think about how do you simulate those types of things in a virtual and remote environment.
Yeah.
Again, all of that's completely feasible. And I think with any mentoring, regardless if it's live or remote, it's having clarity on what each side wants to benefit from that mentorship and kind of starting there so that the expectations, everyone is aware, they're clear on what both sides can benefit, what both sides are looking for in that mentorship, and they have goals that they can, are tracking on as they progress. As you said, the relationship really is key because, that vulnerability and that self-awareness and the, having the openness to talk about that remotely when you haven't had that face-to-face time just takes longer in a virtual environment. But video, conferencing definitely helps with that. Having more frequent touch points and being more deliberate with the mentoring, I think is, the keys there.
So mentoring is usually for after someone went through onboarding, but let's talk a little bit about onboarding as a process of learning. And many companies just really want to onboard their staff through in-person interactions. However, it's certainly possible to do it remotely effectively. And I've seen many companies, I've helped some companies figure out effective remote onboarding. What do you think are some best practices for learning during the onboarding process if you're doing it remotely? How do you capture that those unspoken things about the company culture that would be conveyed naturally through those in-person interactions through remote, technologically mediated interactions?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely feasible to onboard folks remotely and virtually. I think with any onboarding program, having clear things that a new hire is going through, whether that's job shadowing, whether that's performance, different things that they need to go through to learn the different processes and different tools. I think in job shadowing, I've seen folks within my team that are onboarding virtually where they have kind of their working environments and their working screens up as they're going through their day, and so that they can ask questions as the new hire is, bumping into something that they haven't done before. I think having, those building those relationships as a new hire is harder. So as a mentor for someone who's coming in new to the organization, helping them make some of those introductions virtually. And so they're starting to build their network out and, having clarity on kind of what does success look like at that 30-day mark? What does success look like at that 60-day mark, 90-day mark? It's critical regardless of if you're on board or in person or remote. But I think really having clarity on what that success looks like helps both sides of that, the mentor as well as the new hire.
That makes sense to me. Now, I want to talk a little bit about a distinct topic, which is the role of artificial intelligence, generative artificial intelligence within learning and development. And so this is going to be, I think, something that's going to make a real differentiator that facilitates people learning remotely more, because you can store more information from the company and convey more information to people through generative AI and through this text-based interactions. I'm curious about your thoughts on how generative AI will impact learning more broadly, and then specifically the difference, how it will maybe elide or reduce the difference between learning within in-person versus remote contexts.
Yeah, I think there's obviously huge opportunity there for it to really transform from a learning and development perspective. And I think generative AI, really can become a powerful tool in the learning and development landscape. How we're capturing feedback, how we're learning some of those foundational and base skills. And I look for any of, whether it's generative AI or another technology, I think it really comes down to building the relevant skills you need in that organization, and ensuring that you're motivating your team into where they need to grow and learn. And I think generative AI can help with that personalization of the skills that they need to build in their role for today, as well as the skills that they need for the future. And really kind of helps provide access to so many different sources for them to learn and grow from.
And that makes a lot of sense. Now, as we finish up the conversation, what's your vision of learning and development evolving in the future, including its impact on remote work and hybrid work?
Yeah, I think in my opinion, I think really that relevant programs for employee growth and access to career development opportunities, again, regardless if they're in person, remote, distributed, is really what keeps employees motivated in an organization. So, executives, really have to look to align their learning tactics, their tools, their technologies that they're using to their business goals, and then meet their individuals and their team members where they're at. And when I look at learning and development programs and ensuring that relevancy to the right skills, the right company objectives, and to each employee's career growth is really kind of mission critical. And so creating that workforce strategy that meets the needs and the desires of the workforce as a whole, again, regardless of location, and is multifaceted, leveraging different strategies, different technologies, different programs to upskill, to reskill employees, support them where they currently are, as well as for the future and emerging skills. And especially as technology is just evolving so much, that, it helps with, employee retention and opportunities for those future roles.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you sharing your expertise, Leslie.
Yes, no problem. Thank you, Dr. Gleb. It's been great today to meet with you.
And thank you to the audience for checking out another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. Please make sure to subscribe wherever you checked out the show and leave a review. It helps others discover the show, and it helps us improve the show. All right, everyone. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. And in the meantime, the wisest and most profitable decisions to you, my friends.